This is Radically Alive Women's Edgecast.
Healing the sexuality is the journey to regain my dignity and my power that I can use everywhere.
Hello and welcome, Eva Szczepaniak. Welcome to Radically Alive Women.
Hello, Julia.
You are in Poland, from what I hear.
Yes, exactly.
Poland.
Moving soon.
Moving soon. Where are you moving?
We are moving first to Bali, but actually we don't know our final destination. So we are in the process of moving out, but not really in moving in.
And we is?
Yes, so it is me and my partner and my two little kids. And they are 1 and 3 right now.
Courageous. Moving out without moving in.
We are really open for this, what is coming, and in curiosity to discover our next steps.
So that seems to be something we're already right in the topic of who you are. Who are you?
I am the researcher and the discovery, and I am the bridge builder for the new culture. And I know that the new culture exists, and I'm in the process of researching that and creating the bridge for other people who that can step onto this culture. And I'm committed to myself and the others, and I have delivered the process for people to find what is their destiny, what is their purpose here on earth. Because in my experience, when people know who they are and what is their job, there is more aliveness in them, and they can create something different, something which is also more alive and more in relation with the other people and Mother Earth. And for me, this is I'm committed to grow of our humankind, and I believe that we can grow as a humans only when we are connected to ourselves. And I'm so much committed also to connection with myself, with people, and also interconnection in between. So for me, it's the only reason actually why we are here. The only reason why we are here is to grow. And it can only happen when we are fully present. And we are fully present when we are fully jacked into our destiny, our souls, so that we know what we are doing. And we are connected with our feelings, with our bodies, and we have all this information that are coming through us from the soul, so that we can do this, what is our thing to do. And then can magic happen. And this is really also on my website, I have this sentence, let the magic happen, because when you allow yourself to be yourself, then really the mysterious can unfold. And this new culture can evoke from not knowing what exactly is that, but allowing yourself to be exactly the way you are, so that you don't have to be prepared to do something, but you just open up with everything what is in. And then it creates it unfolds itself. And this really excites me. When I talk about that, I discover how much I can relax also in this not knowing of what exactly I should do, but rather to connect with myself, with my bodies, with my feelings, and follow that. And knowing just this first step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And this is the path for me, which is working right now. And that's why I decided to not knowing where I will be in the next 6 months. I just know what is my next step for now, what I want to do, like prepare for moving out. But I don't want to make any declarations, because everything is changing very fast. And the way I'm changing, then my decisions also change.
I'm guessing that this is the result of your growth, that you can take this step and have the courage to step into the unknown and take it one thing after the other. What is necessary to be able to do that? What was necessary for you to be able to do that?
What is necessary first, it started from the self-observation, from checking what is really blocking me right now from making any step, and to realize what I really feel. What is the biggest feeling that I feel during the day? And in my case, it was fear, emotional fear that I was feeling. And this fear actually was connected with sexuality, because I was sexually abused, and I just realized at some point how much this event affected my whole life. And it's not only about the sexuality, but sexuality for me is connected to everything, to how I am in the world, how I take a stand for myself. So for me, the first step was to realize what is really going on, what happened. And then from that, I started to see, okay, so what is the next step? And the next step for me was to connect with my feelings, with my emotions, to give them the space and to heal this old wound. And this old wound was very related in my case to my body, especially my physical body. So I also did this research of my bodies, of what my bodies really needs, because I didn't ask this question myself. So I was detached actually from myself by not knowing what is there that I need. And especially because the physical sexual abuse, I detached from my physical body the most. Like I devaluated my physical body. And I started to communicate with my physical body, like, what do you need right now and how I can nourish you? So I started to own my body. And I'm also the mother. I have 2 little kids, and I was in this period when my body was really dedicated for them, like through the pregnancy, through the breastfeeding. And then at some point, I just felt this anger, like, no, first my body is for me and I need to nourish it for myself. So I have to take the ownership of my body, first me, and then I can share it with others. And it was really, really so much changing for me. Like in terms of the sexuality, I started to decide what I want in regards of my body, or what I don't want. That I don't want that someone or my partner basically touch me in a certain way. And because he did it, like not asking me about that, and because I had this wound of being abused, my anger kicked in very fast. That, oh no, I don't want to do that. But I didn't speak it out. So first I learned to feel what is okay, what is not okay for my body. And then I started to also speak it out, to say it loud. Okay, this is okay, this is not okay. So this was the next step. And then the first step was for me also to give the proposals so that I can create the space that I want, so that I don't have to wait for someone to create the space for me, and or to create something that my body wants, or my emotions, or my energetical body. So there was also a big work for me with the fear, that I know what I want, but I felt fear to speak about that, because I felt so much fear of being rejected when I say what I want. So I started to step by step, just making some experiments by reclaiming, okay, I want to try this. Are you in this? And it happened not only in the sexuality, but also in a daily relationship, and especially in creating intimacy. And I realized that when I'm not speaking out what is really happening in me, when I'm not saying what I want or what I don't want, then I destroy the intimacy. And it was so much connected to the sexuality, because in my case, it's a sexuality couldn't happen when there was no intimacy. And it was the case that was in the past, that I didn't create the intimacy, or there was no intimacy in the relationship, but we had the sexual connection. And it was, for me, the opposite way. Like, it shouldn't be like that, because when let's say I had the sexual connection with my partner, but I didn't feel the intimacy between us, then I felt that I have to detach from myself to be in this connection, because it's like betraying myself. Okay, so I'm giving only you my body, but actually there is no relation, there's no connection between us. And then I was so frustrated, and I had so many unconscious anger also toward this partner, because I didn't say what is really going on. So for me, it was a long way of learning what is my body, what my body needs, to connect with my conscious anger, saying this is what I want, this is what I don't want, and also giving the proposal and creating the space that I want. And now I'm in completely different space. I'm experimenting with many different things in regards of the intimacy and sexuality. And also the way how I perceive the sexuality is completely different. So I realized that I was operating in some old map of sexuality. which in my case was that there is only about the man, that I should be adaptive, that I should follow him, that I can't be a leader in the space. And it was also bullshit. And then when I realized that, then I saw like how much I'm giving myself to someone else or to my partner. And as I said at the beginning, it's not only about the sexuality, because exactly the same happened in different spaces. So for me, the sexuality is healing. The sexuality is the journey to regain my dignity and my power that I can use everywhere. And now I started to really have fun by creating the spaces, by creating the experiments, by giving the proposals and checking what is working, what is not working. Also having fun by changing the decision. Okay, this is where we are starting. And at some point I can feel, okay, but I don't want it anymore. Let's change it to something different. And so what is needed also for me is to have the constant connection with myself, with my emotions, with my feelings. And even if we're in the contact, and there are some, and very often actually it happens right now, that many emotions are arising, and then I give them the space. So the space can shift from the sexual connection, the physical connection, to emotional healing. And the sexuality for me is also the healing. It's showing what is in the surface to heal. So I have this image of the energy coming through my body, this sexual energy, this life force energy. And for me, it's pushing out this what was on the surface. So if there were some emotions or some feelings that they are just popping out like a popcorn. And before I wanted to hide that because I had this assumption that the sexuality and the sexual space is only about sex. But it is so not truth. It is so much more. And that's why sexuality for me is really also can be a tool for healing if I allow myself or if I create the space for the healing. And this is the part that I'm now discovering, and also what is coming next when I allow myself to bring these all emotions that are there. Then I arrive to the space which is very connected to the space of my yoni, but my yoni not like a physical being, but rather like some energetical being, like some part of me. That when I connect with that and I communicate, because also I started to talk with her, like a different part of my being, like to talk her, and she has so much wisdom and the clarity, and she's just so unconditional. Like whatever is happening with me, I feel that there is this source of something unconditional, that it's always still and it's not changing, it's not adapting to this what is happening in me. So I can connect with this unknown space and also relax on that. And this is another layer of sexuality that I'm discovering right now. And I have so much fun about that. And through that, what I want to say, that I discover who I really am, who I am, because I allow my body to go wild and to go crazy. And all this aliveness comes in me. And then I'm very often surprised, but wow, what just happened? Like who I am, like what I'm doing, what my body is doing, what my voice is doing. And I'm in this space of discovery. So yeah, and the sexuality for me can be also the tool to discover who I really am. And it is. So it's really very broad aspect, where before I was limited sexuality to like very tiny box. And now it's the sexual energy for me, it's something that exists all the time without even physical contact with someone, but it's just there, and I can awaken that anytime. And I have also this experience to be in the sexual connection with myself without touching to my intimate places, because it's really not only about that. And for me, the gateway is, for example, or the most right now, is my body, using my senses, like especially smell, when I smell something or when I touch the flowers, and then I really sense some energy raising in my body. And I'm in this research, actually, if the sexual energy is not another feeling, like when we have these four main feelings, if the sexual energy is the fifth feeling, because I can't grab it in this four feeling when I'm describing this experience. For me, this is something different. And it is energy that's really bring aliveness in me. So I can use this aliveness for creation or for just being with whatever is, whatever comes through in my body.
I have sort of a hint that sexual energy and joy of life, like the joy element, is really connected. It seems to be this real life force coming through.
Yeah, and exactly. I had this experience yesterday. I was in sauna and I went to the herb sauna, and there was all the smell of the herbs and the epic, beautiful music. And I felt this again, this through my senses, I felt that this sexual energy is awakening. And exactly is what you said. I felt so much joy that I started to laugh there. And yeah, and this is this excitement of this. I think this is the excitement of being alive, of feeling that my body, my whole bodies are alive, are there. And I'm open up to receive what is going on outside also, so that I can, from that space, from that point, I can connect with the world and with the people. And then after this experience, I look at my partner and I perceived him completely different, a completely different person, because I was different. I was connected. I'm so grateful for this experience yesterday because I know exactly what is my gateway. That whenever I feel that I'm disconnected from myself, I know that my gateway is to connect with my senses and to bring myself back to the space.
I think to hear that is just really useful. That's one gateway to connect with yourself is through senses. A question that I have is, I mean, I'm aware that you went to that online training with Annika Korsten on healing women's sexuality. Is that part of your research that you shared? Did that come out of that space, or can you say anything else about that?
Yeah, the big part of this, what I was saying, was coming from that space. And there's the other important part that I didn't mention yet is how this sexuality and my perspective on sexuality impact my relation with other men and women. And I realized that it was the first realization that I had in the first session, that I'm using the sexual energy in a very unconscious way. So I was using that to attract men, to gain their energy so that I can play with that. And because I have this unhealed wound of being abused, back then I had this unconscious hatred toward men. And I was playing with the sexual energy to do the revenge. I was attracting them and I was leaving them. And there was a part of me that had fun of that. And I realized that. And I met with the really big sadness that I don't want to do that anymore. I really don't want to do that. I really want collaboration with men. And there was this beautiful exercise that Annika proposed where we were changing the identity from the pig making to the man making. And we were practicing during the week how I can change the identity to be a man making. Even if I have these old wounds and still these emotions, but this is my story, these are my emotions. I don't have to really anymore to hate men and to behave in the way that I want to destroy them in a more conscious or unconscious way, in a more fragile or not fragile way. I discovered how different I can relate to men. And again, for me, the gateway, how I can do that was to bring the wildness and the craziness. Because when I wanted to do that in the way like, okay, I'm centered, I'm grounded, I have my bubble of space, I know what I want, I have the clarity, and I'm speaking out from this space, it didn't work because this mechanism that I built for the whole life, they were so strong that they were active in the energetic space and I couldn't catch them. But when I went wild and I just was going with my body and with this what wants to be expressed in my body, then I was so alive that the mechanism didn't work. And then I really could see that I can look in the eyes of this man and I can collaborate with him. And I know that he is in my team and I don't have to play any games. So again, this aliveness is just so big force that it's on the top of all the mechanism, all the emotional fears. And this is what I'm experiencing also right now. And I did, in the meantime, I did also this experiment with Lisa Ommerts of going crazy 3 times a week for 3 minutes. And I believe that it really supported me in this process. So it awakened this wild part of me. And at the same time, it awakened my bodies, and I could connect more with my feelings. And also at the last session with Annika, we have this beautiful exercise of going wild in front of other women. And it was so empowering and there was so much aliveness in the space. And then when I say about that, I feel joy and it's so much connected to that. So for me, this is the key, to be alive and to act from that point to connect with people.
Sounds inspiring. Thank you, Eva.
Thank you. Thank you that I could share that.